So this is one of my favorite pieces. I would go as far as say it is my absolute favorite piece. I did it in 2012, and it was actually, I made it when I first started getting into astrology. So it's called Sagittarius, and it is the Sagittarius colors as well. And it was actually put in an art show here in Detroit at a local coffee shop that I now live right next to. And it lived there for like 3 months, I want to say. So this is when I first started like actually getting into painting, and I decided that I wanted to do it more so. It was just kind of a hobby for a little bit, but when I first started getting into art shows, that was when I was like, okay, this is something I really want to do. So this is my favorite piece, and I go as far as say it was my first piece as an artist. I did pieces before this, but this is when I started. This is another one of my favorite pieces. What I really love about my art is I can hold it whatever way and it doesn't matter because it still works. So I never actually know. I don't remember how I painted this one. I don't remember what the bottom was or what the top was, so it's just however I want to hang it that day. I don't really have an emotional attachment to this piece. I remember making it in my backyard with a really good speaker and with my dogs around me too, and it just reminds me of being very peaceful and calm and relaxing, and reminds me why I like doing art so much, is because it's that kind of very calming, relaxing thing for me. In this piece, I did it last year. It's one of my favorite pieces. I got inspiration from Paramore's After Laughter album cover, and how it's kind of like that 90s colors and shapes and things like that. And this is the first time I used negative space as well. I'm obviously kind of known for filling up the space on all my canvases, so this was the first time I decided to have a white background and some different shapes and colors and things like that. So this was like a new thing I tried out, and ever since I've started doing it, I've really enjoyed it. So this was kind of the beginning of a new Morgan era with my art. I technically started art in high school. I had an art class that was required, but I took literally every art class that Flat Rock allowed, because why not? And Mrs. Mose was our art teacher, and she was very eccentric, kind of like how I like to be. So she was very open to any ideas that I had, and I was always told that like abstract art was stupid and meaningless and didn't really have a point, so I just never really got into it because I was told it was dumb. But whenever I did abstract art in her class, she was very receptive to it and wanted me to do more and more of it, and actually gotten me into a couple art shows, things like that as well. So that's kind of where I started with art. In high school, we had to pick an artist off of a list of artists given to us and do a piece similar to how they do theirs. Like, we had to do everything the same. I have never heard of Jackson Pollock before that. And I just saw his name on the list, I liked it, and I said, sure, we'll go with that. And then I found out that he was an abstract artist, and he actually made his own canvases. He stretched them out himself. He never used a paintbrush. He did like other things with paint, and like used his hands and big canvases and things like that. So I had to like kind of emulate that. And I think that was kind of where it started for me, was where I didn't have to do things traditionally correct or right with painting. I could just do whatever and go with it, kind of like how he did. I did sports, and I tried to do instruments, but none of it never really kept me engaged that long. I did track for a couple years. I learned like 4 different instruments in band, and I liked them all. I went through with them and learned most of them all the way through, but I just lost interest in them after a while. So art was the only thing where I could leave it and pick it up after a while and things like that. So art stuck with me the longest. I definitely created more when I came here, just because it was more freeing. So like I didn't have anybody telling me, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, in regards to art, and like abstract art is dumb, and everything like that. So it was definitely more freeing. I got into things at the DIA, and I used to visit the DIA like once a week when I was a freshman, just because I loved it so much, and I would go there and like sketch paintings out and come back home and paint them. So I had a lot more inspiration around here in Detroit than I did anywhere else. And it's close to home, but not too close where I feel like I have to go home all the time. I can live here and be on my own. But I kind of fell in love with the city around it. Like I said, like going to the DA all the time, there's so much inspiration around here. A lot of like murals and things like that around here as well are very inspiring. And also just what I say to people when they ask why I chose to go to Wayne State, I say those superficial things, but I also say how I like how campus has that small town kind of feeling where I know a lot of people just walking around, but Detroit has the big city aspect of it, so it's kind of like a best of both worlds where I can have that small community but also branch out and do bigger things with it too. So I would say there's a connection between my sexuality and my art, just because with like abstract art, everyone said it was dumb and pointless and didn't make sense. And a lot of times growing up, I heard that bisexual people didn't exist and it was dumb and people were just doing it for attention and stuff like that. So when I started doing abstract art, I kind of faced that same mentality of this is pointless and I don't really need to be doing this. As when I came out, I always thought it was kind of silly because when I discovered I was bi, I was dating a guy. So it was kind of dumb for me to come out until I wasn't dating a guy anymore and I decided to come out anyway. So that's kind of what I've done with art, is just be like, whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway, even though everyone says it's dumb and pointless. So that's just kind of how I've been with that too. And this piece, my mom likes to make fun of me for, because it is Sagittarius colors, and that's why I did it, is because it was when I was getting into astrology. But it just so happens that Sagittarius colors are also bi pride colors, so pink, purple, blues, lavenders, everything like that. And that just kind of goes along with bisexual pride as well, which is blue, pink, and purple. So when I came out to my mom and she saw this piece when I was moving in recently, she was like, oh, did you paint that recently for bisexual pride? And I said, no, it's like multiple years old. She's like, oh, I guess you always knew then and you were just trying to express it. So that also kind of goes into why this is my favorite piece. Okay, right now we are in the Z lot of the Z Park in Detroit. This is my favorite spot ever because it is all an art installation. So every different floor has a different artist in it. So this is actually my favorite artist on this floor. Their name is Dabs Myla. They're from California, so they flew all the way from California to Detroit just to paint this floor of this parking structure. I also really like this parking structure because the top floor has a beautiful view of Detroit. So you can go and you can see the water front on one end, and you can also see like all the downtown buildings. So you get like the best of both worlds. So yeah, this is my favorite spot. Okay, so I really like the art on this wall specifically because it's by my favorite artist, but a lot of the walls are all painted very differently. I like their art just because it is very like random and fun, but it makes you feel happy. Like they use a lot of colors like yellows and oranges that are very bright, and they also they look fun. They look all the characters are very happy and excited. It's very cartoonish in an adult way kind of way. I kind of just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I do for sure want to get into more art shows and look into more like local like featured artists and things like that, like how I did the coffee shop art show one time. And that's something I'd be more interested in. I don't know if I'd want to go super big with it just because it's my thing that I want to keep to myself, which is selfish, but it's fine. It's just something that I like to do in my own time and I don't share it with everybody. But when I do share it, it means something to me.